this came across my timeline, and I said that it's important for me to share this with you guys. So I'm going to play this video, and then I want to get y'all thoughts on it.
You know, I'm sitting here, man, in front of my job, heartbroken like a motherfucker. I raised my son, raising my boys to be stand-up men, to always do the right thing. Nobody's asking for perfection. As long as there's progress, then you're doing something right. So my son fuck up the other day, my 18-year-old, he'll be 19. He fuck up the other day, so I get on his ass. Tell him, you out here running the streets, man. You know what I mean? You ain't trying to do what you supposed to do as far as school starting in August. You say you wanted to go to Central State. You got accepted. What moves are you making to make sure that you go to college? But you out till 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning doing shit you ain't got no business. So I'm gonna save you from yourself, son. So this your ultimatum. Grab one of these junior colleges that school start in August. Don't have to be Owens. Could have been any junior college that's here. Or you going to the military. I'm gonna save your life, yo. As your dad, I know what's out here. So I'm gonna save your life. I'm gonna get you away from this shit. Instead of my son talking to me, he writes me a letter and disappears at my house at 1, 2 o'clock this morning. I wake up, see the letter, immediately call him. Son, what the fuck is you doing? Why you leave? Man, Dad, you know, you gave me an ultimatum to either go to a junior college or go to the military, or I can go live with my mom. I said, yeah. Well, I chose to go live with my mom. I said, why? I want to follow my own path. I said, that's not following your path. That's not following the path, son. You finna start all over in the beginning, and now what? You ain't gonna have that same motivation that I'm giving you to get up and handle business. So I'm just on here talking to y'all because I'm heartbroken because I can't believe my young man not understanding what I'm trying to give him. And the fact that he did call his biological mom and she told him to come to her house further lets me understand that nobody's understanding what these young men need but us men. But nobody's hearing us. Nobody's hearing us. As soon as one of our babies get hurt, we on front line. It's crazy. I wish somebody talked to him and tell him the truth.
So I want to get y'all thoughts in the chat on what y'all think about what he just said. I want to get y'all thoughts in the chat on what your thoughts on what he just said. We try to tell y'all every day. We say it every single day that a woman cannot, and let me say it again for the people in the back. Y'all do great jobs in the nurturing. You do a phenomenal job with the daughters. And even in the daughter's case, there has to be a strong father presence inside of the household. But the fact of the matter is that you have to get on board with your child's parent, which is further proof of why it's so difficult to co-parent. I know a lot of people will say, yeah, you know, co-parenting, you can co-parent. You don't have to necessarily stay with the parent until you have a situation where she like, I can't have my baby out there. I can't do my baby, my baby, my baby. No, it's not the same. Only a man knows what a man is going to go through. And it is important for women to get on board. And you have to. I heard a woman say, and I think I did a review video on the Anton Daniels channel about it. I heard a woman say that in Iran, in Middle East countries, and they not all the same, but in Middle East countries and in Iran in particular, that after 7 years old, the man has complete control over the child and what happens with the child. And the woman literally has no say so, especially if they are to get divorced. She has no say in what happens in the son's life. And too many women, I see it every single day, are babying their sons. You want to know why Molly always say, it's a lot of sassy men out here and all of this stuff. And I somewhat echo that sentiment when we on after hours, is because the men that y'all are complaining about today are largely raised by their mothers. They are son husbands. They are tied to their mothers. They are mama's boys. They are emotional. They are broken. A lot of times they get caught up in the streets and mama don't let them suffer and go through it. And so their situation get exponentially worse. And this, again, is one of the reasons why you need two strong family parents inside of the household, because you need that balance. You need the balance of nurturing, and then you also need that man to help him to understand you're going to go through it and you're going to suffer if you don't make the right decision. And so at any time when you're in the co-parenting situation, he can always call his mama. I'm calling my mama. I'm calling my mama. He can always call his mother. And his mother, not even her fault, it's just the way that she's made. His mother is going to then say, I can't let my baby be on the street. Come on over my house. And not only that, she gonna look at the father and say, what is you doing to my baby? Now he out in the streets at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it ain't nothing happening at 5 o'clock in the morning except for crime and problems, especially when he hanging with the wrong crowd. And daddy is trying to save his life. It sounds like he's a decent father, and more guys, honestly, also need to consider joining the military, getting in the Navy, getting into the Air Force, all of that stuff too, because there's a lot of benefits that come along with it. But especially if you were raised by a single mother, you might need to go into the military. That's just the honest to God truth. You might need some stability. And unfortunately, most guys do not get themselves together until after or close to they starting to hit their 30s. Upper 20s, guys start considering it. Uh, Early 30s, that's when they really start getting their lives together. Most guys. If you start to get your life together before that, then you are ahead of the curve. But the reality is that they got to suffer. They have to suffer. And if they're not suffering in a controlled environment, being able to learn a lesson, if he can't suffer in his early 17, 18, 19 years old, and he going to be in the streets, and only take one phone call and the streets is going to take him over altogether. The streets is going to take him over. I had a cousin that I was really close with, and it was brother's, my mother brother's son. All right. So um, he was being raised by his father because his mother it was what it was. I don't want to get into that. But he was being raised by his father, and his mother was in California, and his father was a really great father, and he's a lawyer. He was a lawyer in Detroit. And he was being raised by his father, and his father was very, very hard. You know what I'm saying? Not hard like on him in particular, but was very disciplined because he came from a disciplined black background. And when I would go and spend a night over their house with him in his father's house, he had this big house, and it was in one of the prestigious neighborhoods in Detroit, and it had a big yard, and so we would have to rake all the leaves, and it was a lot of leaves, and we would just be raking leaves and raking leaves and raking leaves. And, it was just a part of the process. You had to learn to be a man. You had to learn to finish things, and all of this stuff is sort of life lessons that he was teaching him. He had to stick with it. Now, I wasn't, thank God, this is a blessing, but I didn't have the opportunity to be able to run away and do what I wanted to do when I want to do it. You know why? Because I had two strong parents. Who was I going to run away to? I couldn't go to my mama's house because my mama and my dad was together. You know what I'm saying? So anytime I got pissed off at my mom, my dad was just right there to reinforce everything that was going on, and they stayed on the same page. And as I got older, I learned that the rule that they have, which is the same rule that I have for my daughter, is we don't divide ourselves against our child. The child can't go to me and then get something different from the mother, we gonna have to figure it out together, and then we gonna be on one accord. It don't matter if we beefing. It don't matter if we have a difference of opinion. We gonna have to be on one accord. She can't turn me against her mother, and she can't turn her mother against me. And the hierarchy is if it's going beyond her mom, it stops with me. And so when you're together, right, and referencing back to this situation, him being able to run to his mama's house basically negates every single lesson that his father is teaching him. All of the discipline, all of the things that happens inside of that kid's life, it completely goes away because he can always go back to his mama. He can always go back to his mama. Long story short, so my cousin, he got mad at his father one day once he got older, and then he ran to his mama's house all the way in California. And I've told y'all this story. My cousin Reggie ran to, and we had a hand. My mother and my father had a hand in helping to raise him and stuff like that. Ran to his mama's house in California because his mama gave him a pathway to be able to be free and do what you want to do. He got caught up in the wrong stuff, and he wound up getting his back blew out, killed, doing something that he wasn't supposed to do. He wound up dying. My mother and my parents had to fly to California and go to his funeral. His father had to go to his funeral because his mother wouldn't back up his father, and he couldn't wait to run out there so that he could be free. And he got caught up with the wrong crowd thinking that he was getting money, and he wound up getting killed. And I remember right when he came back and visited, he came back to Detroit for a minute, and he had some money in his pocket, and he was stunting, and he started to be a little bit fresh. He had on some polo shirts. He had a little Coogee on the side and all of that. He had his hair cut, and he was like, yeah, Tom, I'm getting money out here in California. And I was like, word? Because I was younger than him. He was 2 to 3 years older than me. I said, word? I said, yeah, man, I'm getting money in California. Yup. I'm out here running this. I said, you running the streets? He said, yeah, I mean, I'm in the streets, but getting money out here in California. Wasn't even a month after he got back. Got his back blew out. Shot. Caught up in the streets. Wasn't worth it. Moral of the story is we need strong households. We need strong families. Strong households. I am a huge advocate for families. I'm a huge advocate, especially if you are having children, specifically for children. If you decide that you don't want to be together, then cool. But don't not be together, and don't just jump out the window and I'm not happy and this and that and so on and so forth if you got kids. The kids are going to pay for the sins of their parents. The kids are going to pay for the sins of their parents. All right? And that was a long time ago. It seems like Los Angeles is worse now.